In March 2022, something happened that aviation world had never seen before. Overnight, in less than 72 hours, over 500 commercial aircraft were effectively grounded. Not because of a crash or a technical failure or a bad weather, because of a decision made in Washington, D.C., Brussels, and London. Western sanctions hit Russia's aviation industry after the invasion of Ukraine. Leasing companies demanded their aircraft back. Spare parts were cut off. Software licenses were suspended. Aeroflot, one of the largest airlines, was suddenly operating a fleet it couldn't legally maintain. China watched every single moment of that. Because right now, today, China has a fleet of commercial aircraft with the exact same vulnerability. And almost nobody's talking about it. The COMAC C919 is a China flagship commercial jet, flying daily, carrying passengers, a symbol of national pride. And its entire operation depends on a joint venture between an American company and a French one. Here's exactly how that threat works and what China is reacting to do about it before times run out. Underneath each wing of every C919 in service today hangs a CFM LEAP 1C turbofan engine. CFM International is a joint venture half owned by General Electric Aviation, headquartered in Kentucky, Ohio, United States, half owned by Safran Aircraft Engines, headquartered in Paris, France. The LEAP engine is the same engine family that powers the Airbus A320neo, one of the most advanced commercial turbofan ever built, fuel efficient, reliable, widely certified. And it is, at its core, American technology. That's not a minor footnote. That's a load-bearing wall of the entire C919 program. Because a commercial jet engine is not a product you buy once and forget about, it's a relationship. Every LEAP engine requires a scheduled maintenance checks, what the industry calls a shop visit, roughly every 10,000 to 20,000 flight cycles. The engines comes off the wings, get disassembled, inspected, and rebuilt using certified spare parts. Those parts come from CFM. The software updates that keep the engine FADEC, which is a flight control computer, current. The technical documentation mechanics used to perform that maintenance is CFM. Cut off the relationship and you don't just lose new engines, you lose the ability to keep flying, the ones you already have. Within 2 to 3 years of a full parts and support cutoff, a modern turbofan fleet begins to face mandatory groundings. Aeroflot learned this hard way in 2022. China is learning from their mistake before it happens to them. The mechanism that could ground China's C919 fleet is not theoretical. It already exists, it has a name, and it has been used before. It's called Entity List, maintained by the US Commercial Department of Industry and Security under the Export Administration Regulation. When a company gets added to this entity list, American firms are prohibited from exporting or transferring technology to them without a special license, which is almost never granted. And over the past 5 years, it's been used aggressively against Chinese technologies companies like Huawei and semiconductor manufacturer and the Aviation Industry Corporation of China. Deeply connected to COMAC supply chain has seen multiple subsidiaries added to the list. COMAC itself is not currently on the entity list, but architecture to put them there exists. The legal precedent exists. The political will, in the right circumstances, could exist as well. What would it take? The honest answer is less than most people assume. The entity list doesn't require a war, it requires determination by the US Secretary of Commerce, within the input of the Department of Defense and State. That entity poses a risk to the US national security or foreign policy. China's aviation ambition, specifically building a commercially competitive jetliner that displaces American Boeing aircraft, could under certain political conditions be framed exactly that way. If the US-China relationship deteriorates sharply over Taiwan, for example, something military analysis considered a live scenario. The first target for economic retaliation would be a high-profile strategic programs. A Chinese state-owned aircraft manufacturer that depends on American engines is a perfect pressure point. Beijing knows this, the question is whether China can eliminate the vulnerability before the pressure comes. Here's something Chinese state media will not tell you. The moment that the C919 entered commercial service in 2023, the moment that engineers cried and the officials celebrated, COMAC leadership sat down and confronted a problem they had been avoiding publicly for years. Every aircraft in their fleet was a liability, not because of the aircraft itself, because of what has been hanging under its wings. The CJ1000A program, China's attempt to build a domestic turbofan to replace the CFM LEAP, was supposed to be ready by now. It's not. The Aero Engine Corporation of China was established in 2016 specifically to solve this problem. Funded at a state level, given a priority access to China's best aerospace engineers, and the CJ1000A is still not in a C919, not a test flight, not in a certification testing, still in development. Every day the C919 flies on the LEAP engines is another day China's most strategic aviation program is one Washington decision away from crisis. To understand why the CJ1000A is taking so long, you need to understand what China is actually trying to build. A modern high-pass turbofan is not a machine, it's a material science miracle operating at the edge of physical possibility. The first stage turbine blades, the component directly behind the combustion chamber, operate at a temperature exceeding 1700 degrees Celsius. That is hotter than the melting point of the nickel alloys they are made from. The only reason they don't melt is a system of microscopic internal cooling channels, carved with lasers that push cooler air through the blade while it spins over 10,000 revolutions per minute. The tolerances across the entire engines are measured in microns. General Electric Aviation took 40 years to master this. Rolls-Royce suffered a catastrophic in-flight engine failures. Pratt & Whitney had their own gear turbofan teething problem in the recent year, and they had been building engines for decades before those issues emerged. China has been building large commercial turbofans for less than 10 years. Independent analysis at Lame News and Aviation Week have consistently assessed that the flight-ready, commercial certifiable CJ1000A is several years away, with 2030 being an optimistic target. Nor guaranteed one. Every year of a delay is another year of exposure. Go back to March 2022 for a moment, because what happened to Aeroflot is the most detailed real-world preview of what the C919 sanctions scenario would look like. Before the invasion of Ukraine, Aeroflot operated roughly 350 aircraft, most of them leased from Western companies, or running on Western engines, all maintained with Western parts. When sanctions hit, three things happened almost simultaneously. Western lessors sent a legal notice demanding their aircraft back. Russia refused to return them. Export license for spare parts were revoked. Western maintenance organizations were prohibited from servicing Russian aircraft, and the Boeing and Airbus suspended technical support. As of today, Russia's commercial aviation fleet is deteriorating. Aircraft are being cannibalized, parts stripped from grounded planes to keep others flying. Russia found itself in a position because its built commercial aviation sector entirely depended on Western aircraft, Western parts, Western expertise, and assumed the relationship would always be stable. China looked at the end and saw a mirror. The C919 has a Chinese airframe, Chinese manufacturing, but the engines, the avionics, the flight control system, still Western, still American, and still exposed. Here is a specific timeline that makes this threat concrete rather than theoretical. CFM LEAP engines require the first major shop visit, performance restoration roughly every 10 to 20,000 flight cycles. The first C919 entered the service in May 2023 at Chinese domestic route utilization rates, roughly 3,000 to 4,000 cycles per year. The first shop visit on the original aircraft would be required sometimes between 2026 and 2029. If sanctions were imposed before then, COMAC would need to either ground those aircraft when they come due for maintenance or perform that maintenance without Western support. The CFM certified shop visit requires CFM supplied parts and CFM approved tooling. Without those, you're not maintaining the engine to airworthiness standards. And without airworthiness, the aircraft doesn't fly. The clock is already running. China is not sitting still. In response to this vulnerability, Beijing is pursuing 3 moves simultaneously. Number 1, accelerate the CJ1000A at any cost. The engine program has received additional state funding. The timeline pressure is now strategic. Every year they can bring the CJ1000A forward as a year of reduced exposure. Number 2 is a stockpile. It's a credible industry reporting that COMAC and Chinese state airlines have been accumulating a strategic reserve of a LEAP engine spare parts. The same way countries stockpile oil or rare earth minerals. How large that buffer is, nobody outside the COMAC division knows for certain. Number 3, build a leverage. General Electric Aviation earned a significant revenue from its China's operation. Boeing earns billions annually from Chinese airline purchase. Any US administration contemplating sanction on COMAC has to weigh the damage to the American aviation companies. Unless the geopolitical stakes are high enough to override commercial interest, which in the Taiwan scenario, they might be. Boeing and Airbus are not neutral observers in this story. Boeing sold roughly 150 aircraft to Chinese airliners per year before the 737 MAX crisis. After the MAX grounding, China was the last major market to recertify the aircraft. A decision widely interpreted as carrying political dimensions beyond the technical. That relationship has not fully recovered. Airbus played a longer game. They built a final assembly line in Tianjin in 2008, making themselves partially Chinese in the eyes of the market. As Chinese airlines reduced Boeing orders, Airbus benefited. Neither company wants the COMAC to succeed in replacing them, but neither company wants to be caught in the crossfire of sanction that could trigger Chinese retaliation against their own Chinese operation. It's an industry walking a tightrope, and the rope gets thinner every year US-China relationship deteriorates. Let's say it clearly because nobody else will. If the United States impose export control sanction on COMAC, for whatever reason, in whatever political moment, the C919 fleet does not immediately fall out of the sky, but it begins slow, managed decline. New production stops because new aircraft require new LEAP engines. Existing aircrafts continue flying until their maintenance cycle requires CFM supplied parts. Then one by one, they start getting taken out of service. Within 5 to 7 years of full sanction regime, China's C919 ambition would be effectively paused. Not destroyed, paused. Because China would still have the airframe knowledge, still have the production line, still have the engineers. They would just be waiting for an engine they could call their own. Which brings everything back to one program, in one facility in Shanghai, the CJ1000A. That engine is not just a product, it's China's exit from the most dangerous vulnerability in its aviation program. Here's what we know for certain. The C919 is flying, it's carrying passengers safely. China has achieved something real, commercial jet, designed and built at home in a domestic revenue service. Here's what we also know. The aircraft operation life depends on the relationship with an American company that the US government can legally terminate. The domestic replacement engine is years away. The Aeroflot has shown the world exactly how quickly a modern aircraft fleet can be paralyzed by a political decision. Difference is China knows it, and they are moving urgently, quietly, at a massive expense to close it before they find out the hard way. Whether the CJ1000 arrives in time, whether geopolitical hold is stable long enough for COMAC to mature, whether China aviation ambition survive the decade without a crisis, that's still an open question.